This is the Advisor Odyssey podcast, and this is Daniel coming at you again here. We're on episode number 27, and today's topic is increasing your first appointment show rate. Okay, this is going to be a good episode. Again, if this is an area where you feel like maybe that you're not struggling, especially if you are struggling, but if this is an area that you want to improve, then this is going to be an amazing episode for you to listen to. Lots of good takeaways that you can immediately implement today.
This is the Advisor Odyssey audio experience, where financial advisors, planners, insurance agents, and brokers will find fresh new ideas and perspectives around what it takes to launch, succeed, scale, and bulletproof their business.
All right, now for most financial advisors that I have the pleasure of speaking with, whenever it comes to like sales process or like the marketing funnel, that first appointment is really like the target. That's where it is one of the most like important, influential KPIs in your business, that first appointment show rate. But how often do you have, maybe you hosted a dinner seminar and you had a handful of people registered to attend your event. They showed up, and then you wowed them with your presentation. They feel like you can help them. They're ready to roll. They set a first appointment. And let's say maybe 10 of them set a first appointment, but only 5 of them show up, right? That sucks. Like, that feeling sucks. Because then what do you do? Was the whole time, did they actually want to meet with you? Was it something you did? Was it something you didn't do that would have made the difference? Like, there's a lot of these things that can impact, like, the results of whether they show up or not. And truth of the matter is, sometimes it's not your fault, but many times there is things that you can do better. So today we're going to be talking about some of those items on how you can do better. Maybe you're doing some of these, but I would imagine you're not doing all of them. So hopefully there's some good takeaways. And the reality of it too, little hinges swing big doors in the advisory business. Whether it's advisory, insurance, like, they swing big doors. If you can look at your client acquisition percentage here, like what some would consider like the close rate. Okay. If you knew that if you got in front of, let's say, 5 more people every single month, what that would do over the course of a year to your revenue, then this is something that is going to be potentially business changing, life changing, because this is all meant to get more people to show up. And for most of you, the average client like closing ratio here that I've heard from advisors is somewhere in that 30 to 40% range, maybe 50 on the upper end. And that's by the way, that is a true percentage. If someone says that that everyone who meets them becomes a client, then they either only strictly work off referrals or they're lying. And even if it's strictly referrals, you shouldn't be working with every single person who meets with you, because then you're stretched too thin, or you're way, way too clouded by the scarcity mindset, and you're afraid. So, and I'm sorry if that's blunt, but that's the truth. So let's get back here. Let's get back in the topic of increasing your first appointment show rate. So that period in the sales process, which I did a previous podcast episode, by the way, and I wrote an entire article around this. There are about 8 phases to the life cycle of a lead. One of those phases, I believe it's phase 4, if I remember right. Phase 4, it's either phase 3 or phase 4. It is 100% the phase between when they said they would meet with you and when they actually show up to meet with you. It's that period. So we're going to be talking about that specific period here. So someone sets an appointment with you. If you've got an opportunity to get their address, okay, if you host dinner seminars, you'll have their address, but if you can get their address, this is where you need to send something in the mail to them. This is actually by far the easiest way to get someone to show up to your first appointment. Drop something in the mail to them. Now, you might have, again, this might honestly attack or hit on some of your egos or your pride right now, but the reality is you're not as great as you think you are. And I understand why you feel that way, but the job isn't for you to feel that way. The job is for you to convey that to the prospective clients that you're trying to meet with. If they don't feel that, then it doesn't matter. So the number one enemy to that feeling is buyer's remorse. You've bought things in the past before that you think probably shouldn't have bought that. Didn't need it. Wasn't worth it. Wasted the money, etc. That buyer's remorse is very true in just setting an appointment. The prospect, again, let's say it was a dinner seminar, for example. This could be anything, but let's say they attend your event, they hear your value prop, and they think, wow, that's great. I think they're going to be amazing to work with. They can really help me. they set the appointment. It could be even just the next day. They wake up and they say, I don't know. I think I'm okay. I don't need to make any changes. Or, I think I can probably do this myself. The DIY investor phenomenon. Like, these are all things that are very prevalent to happen. And sometimes it's not your fault. So dropping that package in the mail, if possible, overnight it, let it hit the next day. And in that package, again, shock and awe is just a marketing term, but this is really a package that's supposed to solidify two things to that prospect. Just two really simple things. The first off, that you can provide them value based around the services that you, on a standard, provide to your clients. Okay, that's number one. This, in which that's very easily done by saying what the process is with working with you, all the things that you can do to help, simple stuff. You can create documents. You should have stuff like that. If you're working with a firm, like a larger firm or a wirehouse, you're going to have that already. But if you're independent, you should create it. You can pay a marketing company to build it for you, or you can hop on Canva, or there's other alternatives within the space that you can work with that'll create this stuff for you for free. I know that's what I do for the advisors I work with. We create it for them for free. So there's lots of ways you can do this, okay? But the first component, again, just what you do, your services. The second is, it is a specific follow-up, and this is how I phrase it, but it is a content-based follow-up to whatever the topic or the event or whatever the condition was from them setting the actual appointment with you. So to explain that, if it was a dinner seminar, what was the dinner seminar topic around? If it was a radio show, what was the radio topic around? Whatever the topic or the objective communication technique or conversation around was for why they set the appointment with you, that's what you lean into. Okay. So really simple example. You might be working with a company that hosts, that helps you host dinner seminars or just workshops in general. If the topic of your seminar is around taxes, the follow-up package that they get the next day, there should be valuable content in there around the topic of taxes, tax planning, tax loss harvesting, charitable remainder trusts, donor advised funds. The list goes on and on. That's what the content should be about, because that's what matters to them. You might have some people that just show up because they want to meet with you in general, but the reality is most show up because they are interested in the topic. That's going to be the most common reason why someone shows up to an event. So the shock and awe package, again, that mail piece, two simple things: who you are and what your process is, and then an additional couple pieces, if not just one really solid piece of content around that topic. The second way to increase your show ratio is video messaging. Okay, send a quick video message, whether it's an email or a text. And again, check with your compliance, make sure you can do this. And if there's any sort of things, hoops you have to jump through or things you have to get approved, but that video message, hey John, hey Susie, just want to let you know, I'm so excited to meet with you guys. I want to be clear though, there's expectations that we have when, people come in to meet with us. So I want to make sure those expectations are clear so you know what to expect. The first thing that you should expect is, here's exactly what's going to happen in this meeting. No surprises. Lay out whatever your first appointment process is. Fact-finding, discovery form, we're going to have a decision. Whatever that looks like for you, lay it out there really simply. If they respond back, which they usually will, okay, in a video message, if they are not interested anymore, they will respond back, say, hey, let's cancel that appointment. And that's okay. You're not wasting your time. They would have probably not showed up in the first place. But those who do get the video, a lot of times this eases nerves. And this is, again, buyer's remorse. One of the fears that a lot of people have, they'll think to themselves something like, I wonder what they think is going to happen. Am I supposed to make a decision in the first meeting? Are they going to ask me to change? There's a lot of these questions, and you'll never know these questions because they're not going to ask you. They're going to think it to themselves, and they're going to make a decision based around what they think the answer is or past experiences. And it doesn't take me to tell you guys, there's some bad people, there's some snakes in this industry that have burned a lot of bridges, that have created, quite frankly, they've probably created the DIY investor phenomenon right now. But there's some bad people in this industry that have created these, connotations. They've created these negative reactions. So you want to be ahead of that. Be transparent, be clear about what to expect on the first appointment. A third way that you can increase your first appointment show rate is, this goes actually back to whatever the reason why they set the appointment with you was. What are you giving that person in exchange for meeting with you for the first time? So in other words, what is your value add? What are you promising them in exchange? What's your call to action? Advisors, if they, for example, they host a seminar, they might say, if you meet with me, you'll get X. Okay. It's not, I promise you X. It's, you will leave that first appointment with X. Okay. If you don't have that already, add that into it and you'll get more first appointments, because some people are just wired. If I meet with them and I spend the time with them, I want to make sure I get something out of it, whether I work with them or not. Okay. Some people, if you promise, let's say, a Social Security analysis, some people have no intention of working with you. They just want that analysis. Now, the pride and the ego in a lot of you might be saying, well, why would I want to meet with them anyways if they're not going to work with me? But the truth is, you're never going to know who those people are unless you offer that. If 5 people set a first appointment with you with no promise, but then 7 people set a first appointment with you with a promise, it's not a guarantee that the 2 extra that set an appointment with you because you promised them something are just there to get the promise. It's impossible to know. But expand your offering, expand your net. So the fourth way to increase your show rate is also something you're going to want to drop in the mail for them. But it's you can also do it at your event, though, as well. If you're hosting a live event, you can do it as well. But just send them a copy of your book. If you've written a book, which I think a lot of advisors who have large client bases should highly consider this. If you've written a book, send them a copy of your book. Every single advisor, they should have, there's 2 things in common, okay? And this is not just advisor, this is people. Every single person on the earth has some sort of hobby or interest. There's at least one. That hobby or interest is the niche demographic that you can best serve, okay? So let's say, again, a couple examples here. Let's say you're a teacher in a past life. You jumped in the financial services field. You understand how teachers think about financial planning, at least in your area, assuming you don't move states or whatever. You understand how the 403B works versus the 401k. You understand that stuff, right? So this is your opportunity to put together items that can really help you stand out from the crowd. Put together a book or write a really short ebook and give that away. You can print out the ebook, get it bound and stapled. It doesn't take a lot to do that. It's a very, very easy way to increase your first appointment stick ratio, because you're also going to be building leverage into the situation. People will perceive you as more valuable in a bigger deal than you are just by having a book. It's that simple. Authors are more well known. So on that note too, on the authoring piece, if you've had an opportunity to write an article or be featured in an article or some sort of PR segment, if it was news or a podcast or something, that also serves as touch point marketing. I've mentioned on a previous episode that podcasts serve as amazing touch point marketing, to where you can send them a clip of your podcast or maybe your most recent podcast episode to help build that credibility and leverage regardless of the topic. Okay, this is another opportunity. The content that you create at the end of the day, or that you help create, again, you might not be the sole author. If you create content or help create content, that serves as touchpoint marketing to help build leverage. Drop that in the mail or email it to them or text it to them, whatever it looks like. Make sure they get that credibility from you or from your team before they ever look to show up to that first appointment. How many times, and I'm going to paint a real picture. Let's say, and this is a totally different industry. Let's say there's a really exciting chef. Let's say it's Gordon Ramsay, for example. Gordon Ramsay's coming to town. He's hosting a pop-up dinner. You have to pre-reserve your spot. Call it $10,000 to get a table. Now, let's assume that they have a refund policy to where, you reserve the table, but at any point you can opt out. His biggest hurdle would be, well, if I have 40 tables that are registered, to attend, for dinner that evening, 40 different dates happening, or 40 different, families coming, etc. The worst thing that could happen is the day of, he has 20 cancellations because they say, never mind, I don't want to spend the $10,000. I don't want to do it. Never mind. That's a real problem. And it is a phenomenon that affects every single industry for the most part. So let's say that were you in that scenario. What's one of the easiest ways that if you set that table booking and you were on the fence about spending the $10,000, that's a lot of money. But if you're on the fence, you loved the experience and you thought it could be a fun time and maybe a once in a lifetime deal, what would help you further decide to stick with your decision, yeah, it's worth it. Because the more time that goes by, the more likelihood that someone's going to opt out or change their mind. So imagine if Gordon Ramsay, he didn't tell you the menu, but after people registered, let's say a week before the event, all of a sudden everyone who had registered got sent the menu and pictures of the food, what it should look like at the end, and maybe a little video of him talking about what the dish is going to be. That is going to increase the show rate. Now people are excited again. Okay. That's the point. Just get people excited again. Get them excited. If, again, this is especially true if you're in the wirehouse, the more captive agency type channel here. Like let's say hypothetically you're working with Edward Jones. Okay. This is nothing against Edward Jones, to be clear. This is just my example. If you're working with Edward Jones, you've got the entire brand of Edward Jones behind you. You are an agent or an advisor within Edward Jones. Edward Jones has worked very long and very hard to build up their brand. They've done an exceptional job, right? Some have feelings, positive, negative. Everyone's going to have their own take on it. But the point is, it's a well-known brand. Okay, it's basically like the Coca-Cola in the financial advising world. So, what are you going to do if you're in that channel to stand out from another Edward Jones advisor? Right? Like, even if we dig into that, how are you going to stand out? And the easiest way to do that is simply build leverage, build credibility. You are worth more to someone if you've authored a book, if you've been featured in, a news article, or if you've been on the news before, if you've been featured in Kiplinger or Yahoo Finance, like if you have a podcast, those little things add up. Again, it's just social equity. If you send someone an episode of your podcast or a recent clip from your podcast or something like that, a couple days before they're supposed to meet with you, I bet you if you do that consistently, you're going to get more people on average showing up to that first appointment. If you make your call to action tangible, if you promise something in exchange for meeting with you that first time, on average, you'll have more people show up to that first appointment. Dropping something in the mail, talking about you and your firm, sending a video message out, those are going to impact positively your first appointment show rate in the long term. You need to do it. Pay attention to it, focus on it, and I promise you it will pay dividends. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed this episode. Again, this is how are we going to help increase that first appointment show rate? Here's some good examples. Hopefully there's at least one good takeaway from this that you can take, implement, and immediately change your business over the next quarter.
We hope you enjoyed the Advisor Odyssey audio experience. Connect with us on your favorite social media platforms at Advisor Odyssey. You can find our full-length educational videos to watch on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook. Check out all our articles and publications on medium.com/Advisor Odyssey. The Advisor Odyssey podcast is available on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. The contents and opinions shared, expressed, or otherwise alluded to on the Advisor Odyssey podcast and audio experience are solely ideas and not to be depicted as tax, legal, or investment advice. Results from the use of these concepts may not be representative of the experience of all financial professionals and are no guarantee of future success. Your results may vary. The Advisor Odyssey and its affiliated members are not to be held liable or responsible for any lawful recourse or punishment invoked upon the individual or accompanying business partners or team members. Federal law, state law, and/or insurance carrier requirements may prohibit or place limitations on any of the ideas and activities expressed. All advisors, planners, wholesalers, affiliated reps, and investment advisors should be aware of any limitations imposed by federal regulation, state regulation, insurance carriers, broker-dealers, and registered investment advisors as applicable. Investment advisors are strongly encouraged to obtain pre-approval from the broker-dealer, registered investment advisor, insurance company, or similar institution with which they may be affiliated.